Again, welcome to everybody. Our final speaker of the evening is a most illustrious gentleman, and most knowledgeable in this field. Johann works in the Cavan County Museum, and I know we're a bit sad, but one day Johann telephoned me and said, wildly excited, that he had located a document in the depths of Cavan County Museum, which has not been on display. It was donated to the museum many years ago by, I think, the Farnhams.
The Saunderson family.
The Saunderson family.
Yeah,
It
so
was
the
donated by the Saunderson family. And what transpired to be is the original charter for the first Mullagh Fair, the license effectively for Mullagh Fair, granted by, and I'm not going to spoil this, Johann's going to tell us who it was granted by. But anyway, the two of us got very excited about this because we felt we had an original document for the start of the fair, and this was something we should try and do something about. And we obviously had difficulties in extracting it out of the museum, and the only way we could do it was I would invite an employee of the museum to attend the fair with the document. And of course I had to sign all of the documents to say I'm responsible for all of this documentation, and not Johann.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So
proper order.
If anything happens, it's all my fault. It's not his fault, I think, is the message, and that's my legal background speaking there. So anyway, Johann, you didn't start in this field at all. Your original occupation was not to do with history.
No, I started when I left school back in 1996. I went straight into construction. I had always had an interest in history, but I went into the history class in first year, and the history teacher gave us a foolscap page, an A4 page of dates, and told me to remember them for a test in a week's time.
Yes.
And that was me out the door.
Yes.
So I had no interest in learning all them dates at the time. But still, you could ask me a date on anything today and I'll be able to tell you. But
yes,
at that time, I just obviously wasn't ready to learn that way at the time.
So where was the genesis of your interest in history? When did it first arise?
I always had it. I definitely would blame me Granny Farrelly for telling me all of the stories, and no matter what piece of paper she'd always find, or a field we'd walk past, or a building or anything, or a shed, there was always, she'd tell you a story about that.
Yes.
So that's where it came from.
Very much local history at
that
stage.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
You then studied, and you brought us on a fascinating walk in the parish here some years ago.
Yeah.
But you did your thesis on.
I did. I went
topic.
mad then when I got older then, and I said I'd go back to college, and so back, and I'd done a master's in archaeology, and at the time we were coming out of the recession, there wasn't a lot of work in archaeology or construction, so I went back to construction, but I'd done a bit of part-time work with Cavan County Council, and that led me into working with the library. And long story short, after years of an eye on the council, they eventually give me a full-time job.
Your thesis was on forts.
The early medieval landscape of Mullagh, County Cavan. So it involved looking at all of the ring forts, early medieval churches, pagan sites, the Omestone and the Heritage Centre, and the 52 ring forts in the parish of Mullagh.
Yes.
Yeah, and visiting every one of them sites, measuring them, and gathering as much information as possible. And I wrote my thesis on them ring forts.
I think a number of us were on that walk a few years ago.
Yeah, I think
fascinating.
A little bit
episode.
It was.
So I think we're going to have to another one. I've already sold another open day next year. Down in Crossrea with David and Damien. So I think we're going to have to do that again.
I think so, yeah, we will do it again, definitely, yeah.
Anyway, you ended up in Cavan County Museum.
Yes.
Your dream job, I suspect.
Absolutely, yeah. I just love it. My job, I'm documentation officer with Cavan County Council, and so I'm based in the museum in Ballyjimstuff. And my job is to look after the paperwork and look after the collection there, and try and catalogue what we do have in our collection and understand, better understand what we have in our collection. And a couple of years ago, I was going through the Saunderson files, and there was 12 portraits that were donated from some of the Saunderson family in America somewhere, and I think there was 13 objects and 12 portraits, and there was another one that just said picture with paper in it. So I was intrigued to find out what it was, and so I said I'd go into the archives and pull it out and have a wee look, and there it was, the original charter for Mullagh Fair. So I have it here today, only because Eamonn signed for it. I wouldn't have been able to get it otherwise. So it's a charter. So when the original village of Mullagh would have been built in the early 1820s, Saunderson was the builder of the village, but he couldn't make any revenue from just having a village, so he had to have fairs and markets. And the only way he could hold a fair or a market was to actually have a charter from the king. So King George IV was the king in charge, or the king at the time. So he obviously would have had to have gone to the Lord Chancellor, and at this stage it was Richard Wesley, who was a Mead man, but he was the Lord Chancellor, Lord Lieutenant General within Ireland at that time, and he would have written to obviously to George IV and got them to do up this document, and so it provided an income for Saunderson, but also for the King of England as well, because there was fairs taking place in Bailieborough, in Kinnalek, in Kells, and I'm not sure about Minot, he'd been mentioned, but there was Bailieborough, there was a couple of local areas. Virginia as well was having a fair at that time as well. So Saunderson couldn't have one without having one of these.
This entitled him to charge a fee for people to enter the fair.
Enter the fair. So you could have a fair, you could have a market every Friday,
yes,
and then you could have a fair on the last Friday of every month. So your market was generally just more local stuff, people bringing in their local produce, whatever they wanted to sell. But the fair was the big event where you could get people to come from all over various districts and to come and sell their produce in the town.
I think the market house was the house we housed the photographic exhibition in.
Yeah, so we're very lucky. So some of the very first houses that would have been built in Mullagh here would have been at this lower end of the town. So the market house would have been one of the very first ones to be built, yes, and this is where we had
and I think
the object on display.
My recollection from something we read was that the two archways on the market house there's one on the right where the entrance to the photographic exhibition, and there's one on the left, and vehicles would go in the one on the right. It was you went in there, and there was a building at the back.
It was a one-way system.
A one-way system, in on the right and out on the left.
Yeah, so you had to go in the door where we have our exhibition, and then you had to go out into the court at the back, and you come back through what is now that apartment. And that's used, so from 1820s that has been used, and it was believed to have been used during the penal times as well. It used to call it Parnell's meal when they were getting it from the mill there also.
I think that was a sort of almost a second threatened famine at the time, and that there was a sort of a food aid program that was distributed through.
Yes.
Again, in the depths of history somewhere, the McKennas managed to acquire the market house.
Yes. How, we don't know. We don't have the deeds for that one.
We don't have the deeds for that one. No.
But they did acquire at some stage.
Yes.
And then, sure, of course, they would have kept the family business and going there. And also across the road, then they purchased that building at the bottom of the other side across from the market house, and had a hardware there for years.
We have here on the bottom of this deed, which we might put up, we can't obviously let it out in the rain given that I've signed for it, but there is a wonderful seal at the bottom of this here, which is a circular wax on which is imprinted the seal of, I presume, George the.
Yeah, so it's the seal of George IV that I can show you later on anyway.
Yeah. We'll move this over a little bit here. Yeah. No. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, so it's a fairly substantial scene. So you have the image on the scene itself is King George sitting on the throne.
Down here.
Behind him you have, I think it's Justice and Equality, and then in front of him you have three images of Scotland, Hibernia, and what's the other one? Britannia. They're the three images in front of us.
If anybody of you are studying our poster, you'll note that we got it wrong because we advertised this charter as being from 1828 because it said it doesn't give a date on it on the body of it, but it says in the 8th year of the reign of King George the Fourth. And of course, the 8th year, King George came in 20, we added 8 and 20, and came up with 28.
Yeah.
But of course, the 8th year of his reign was 1827.
Yeah, so it's a year older than we originally had.
It is.
So even better again.
1827 is it. And going down through it, it's all very legal language. It's the name of God and the King of Great Britain and Ireland at the time. And it goes on through the wording and grants to Francis Saunderson the license. Francis Saunderson was the head of the Saunderson household at that time in 1827, and he had been a member of the Irish House of Commons before the Act of Union, and then he was elected as an MP in the House of Commons in England, representing this constituency here. And God, that's awful rain. And keep it in. and he's Saunderson, of course, this is the Saunderson estate here, and it reached the whole way from Fermanagh to Meath, and this is where you would step foot into Meath. It didn't go any further than the bridge, so this was the very extremity of his estate, but it had fallen into a lot of financial issues until Francis Saunderson came around, and Francis Saunderson actually rebuilt Saunderson Castle, where some of us got our vaccinations at the time. He was responsible for rebuilding Saunderson Castle, which had fallen into a lot of disrepair at that time. And he died, unfortunately, in the same year as this was granted to him.
Obviously, just a couple of weeks after.
A couple of weeks after this was granted to him. And he was succeeded by Alexander Saunderson, and I can't remember the next fella. Who was he? Edward? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
No, we'll make that up. Oh, no.
I thought this was being recorded.
No, it is being recorded. Sorry, we do know. But it's a fascinating history of this, and we're very lucky to have this in Mullagh. This is probably the very first time this document has ever been in Mullagh, even though it relates to Mullagh, and it relates to the foundation of this village and the foundation of the fair that's going on and being recreated out here, which ran, I think, until when it ran until the 1960s, I think.
I think in the 1960s, yeah.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
So the fair ran for 140 years.
Where did you get the document from?
As Johann?
So it's part of the Saunderson estate, and they would have donated it or loaned it to Cavan County Museum. So it's on loan to Cavan County Museum. I work with Cavan County Museum, so I loaned it for the weekend. Borrowed it.
Yes.
And
officially, I have to say, I've signed a lot of documents for this.
Eamonn has signed for it. Yeah.
But also, Johann brought me into, I don't think you should have done this, but this has been taped, but anyway, he brought me into the store of Cavan County Museum, which is a fascinating place.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there's lots of sort of stuff that you're involved in documenting in there and trying to collate what actually people have donated to the museum. This was one, what was it described as, paper in frame or something like that?
Framed sheet of paper.
Framed sheet of paper, this was described as. And Johann has recovered it for the village. I think there should be a statue somewhere.
If anyone wants to make a statue of me, that's fine.
But anyway, thank you very much for attending today. We're sorry about all the weather today, but I hope everybody enjoyed it and you got a bit out of it. And again, thanks very much to Johann for recovering this for the village. Well done. Thank you very much.